You're watching Plants and Politics with Gina Bonanno Lemos. If you're ready to hear the truth about both sides of the aisle, what's really going on in America, and how big money interests prevent change to keep you sick, broke, and desperate, then play on. Welcome to Plants and Politics. This is Gina. I've got a great guest with me today to just share his thoughts on what's going on in the country, his feelings on, police brutality, the protests, George Floyd's murder, and all that stuff that's not good. But anyway, I would like you all to welcome Dylan Young to the podcast. So Dylan, can you just let us know who you are, maybe your age? Are you a father, a husband? Tell us about yourself.
Yes, so I am 27. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. It is about maybe an hour and a half south of Montgomery, Alabama, which is the capital. I am a women's fitness professional, vegan specifically, with a niche in pre and postnatal fitness. So.
Oh, awesome.
I am a father too as well. I have a 2-year-old son and I have an 8-year-old daughter.
So I was going to ask, first off, how did you feel watching that video of George Floyd?
Well, it just, the most immediate emotion I felt was anger, but having to look into it more, understanding just how much lack of connection we have amongst everyone as a human race, and just kind of respect for all beings in a way that is better for the world versus divide, kind of. I kind of feel like with the state going on today, and as well with Trump, it just creates so much divide in us. I just saw the kind of, like I said, just the disconnection we have with everyone as people, and it brought kind of sadness to me. Sorry, it's a lot. Like I said, a lot of emotions came up watching that video. So,
of course, yeah. Why do you think now? I mean, and I asked this of my guest last week. I was very disheartened, to say the least, after the shooting death, after police shot and killed Tamir Rice.
Right.
To me, if you can see video of a cop not even getting out of his car within 2 seconds of showing up on the scene, shooting a 12-year-old child, a little boy, who's doing what little boys do, just playing in the park, right?
Right.
And nobody seemed to flinch. I mean, people were outraged in the moment and there were reports about it, but you didn't see the backlash. You didn't see this uprising that we're seeing right now. And to me, I don't know if it's just a case of people are out of work and so people have more time, or it was, or it's just, to me, almost the country's like a tinderbox, right? Because people are out of work, people are on the verge of losing their homes, they've lost their insurance, they've lost their jobs. They're wondering how they're going to pay their bills. So it was like all this anger and frustration, and then it was just like the match that set everything off. But what is your take on it?
Well, I found that interesting as well. It's kind of hard to say what made this the incident that brought the world into chaos, essentially. It's been going on for quite some time, obviously, police brutality, especially against people of color. So, each individual one is not worth, Sandra Bland, for one, I still don't understand that at all, So, if anything, I felt like that should have been our rise to speaking on, what is wrong with what's going on right now. But, it's hard to say. You can say it's like an election year. You can say, media is just, like I said, they have feels like they're cycling through different things that, as far as like coronavirus and as far as like police brutality, things of that nature. I mean, you can't really say, but at least we got to the point to where we know that we can group together and make things better.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, whatever it was or is that's causing this uprising, I'm happy. I'm
right.
thrilled that it's occurring, because I really was worried that people were just becoming really desensitized to everything. And yeah, it was
Absolutely.
tough.
Well,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I'm old enough that I lived through the LA riots after the Rodney King decision, after the
Right.
police walked on that. And I was furious, but I was also terrified to go to LA and join in the riots because I saw, people being beat up. I mean, and like I always say, I don't agree with the violence or destroying businesses, but I understand it. I understand where that just fury and rage comes from, where you want to burn everything down. I get it. I don't like it. I wish that it didn't happen, and especially to, small business owners and people who are already struggling, but I fully understand it. What is your first memory, if you have any, of being profiled or being harassed by police for what you believe is just the color of your skin?
Well, me personally,
Yeah.
well, being from Alabama, I can tell you that there's a lot of, in the deep South Bible Belt, there's definitely a lot of tension as far as going on right now and just in general growing up. There's
Mm-hmm.
obviously been a lot to deal with being a Black man, but it was younger when I was about 16, when I was involved in like a car accident, and there was some profiling going on because of my color. And actually, the person I got in an accident with was a classmate.
Mm-hmm.
I went to high school with her, and there was just kind of like a lot of discrepancies between like what I told them and what was reported on the police report that caused many issues among that. So, and a lot of stories being told about what happened with the other girl that caused a lot of not hate but opinions towards me as a person. So like it all resulted as of the color of my skin. So, but
Yeah.
you live and learn from it.
Yeah.
Learn through it.
Yeah. And a lot of my friends talk about, little microaggressions too, that I don't think a lot of white people realize.
Right.
They, like, my best friends will tell me about friends they have, and I'm like shocked to hear, that they think they're racist because they're so close to their family, but they're like, oh yeah, she said something like one time, well, you're not like other Black people. And it's
Right.
like, really?
Right.
Human beings aren't like human beings. I mean, yeah. So there's just so much stuff like that I just don't think people are aware of. And just so everybody watching understands, the reason I wanted to start doing these podcasts is because, and as you know, there have been posts on social media recently, and people have been trying to, in my mind, justify George Floyd's murder by posting things that are completely irrelevant, things about his past, about, criminal past in particular, denigrating him in that way.
Right.
And to me, I find it racist. I view it as a racist act because I have never in all my years on this earth seen anything like that when it's a white victim.
Right.
And I literally got into a 2-day back and forth on social media with another white woman from my area who was arguing with me saying it's not racist. And I was saying, but Black people see this as racist. And so who are you to tell them that they're wrong? Why don't you listen to the people who are it's actually affecting? So let me get your take, because again, I'm a blonde white woman from Southern California, who's never been targeted, but that's the way I view it. What is your take on it?
Well, I actually have an opinion from two different sides. So, especially, for instance, with Candace Owens, her, I want to look at it as in I don't see a point, or I don't see how it's relevant about his history, just for the simple fact that it shouldn't have happened. Like it's like you're not valuing his life as much because of his history. So I think that's racist in itself, that you don't value that man's life because he was a criminal or has a criminal record.
Right.
I'll never understand that. And also that I do find that Black people find some way to shed some light on who they are as a person, or at least they try to make a certain image of them for whatever reason. But I do see that Black people do that, I guess, to maybe bring some light to bring the light to the situation. I'm not sure if it's because it makes them, I don't know, validate themselves. I'm not really sure, but, that's kind of like my opinion on it. I think it's irrelevant to even speak about his history, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, Candace Owen is another.
Sorry.
Oh, Lord, don't get me started on her. I mean, anything that comes out of her mouth is just, come on, really? I mean, girl, literally, I don't know if you're aware of this. And so for everybody watching, I'll just tell you, she literally sued her school for racism, or actually for not protecting her from racism. There were a bunch of her classmates who were calling her and making racist comments and sexual comments and harassing her, which was wrong. But she actually sued the school district for failing to protect her from that, and won. Her family got almost $40,000. So for her now to say racism isn't real and people on the left are just making it all up and making more out of it, I mean, she's just a clown.
I had no idea.
Yeah, she's so illegitimate, it's ridiculous. I mean, that's why she's on faux news channel. So news, I should say, channel. But yeah, so your kids are still pretty young,
right?
But do you plan on, or have you maybe already had talks with them about profiling or how to protect themselves? I mean, I know that my friends who are Black and brown have had to have conversations with their kids that I've never had to have, never even thought of having with my kids.
Right.
And I find it really disturbing. But I mean, is that something you've done or plan to do?
Well, I mean, even to this day, my parents still have these, my parents still tell me these things, even when I get pulled over by police, so it still happens with my parents involved, telling my children as well. But I certainly do, like I said, my son's 2, so it's not really affecting him. But my daughter, she's 8, so I do really try to advise just in general, not necessarily because the color of her skin, but in general, not to do anything to provoke or, elude, elicit, action or anything of that nature. Basically, doing your best to be, in compliance where you don't cause any issues. But especially as a person of color, things as such, having your hands in your pockets, prevent the illusion that you may be able to harm them. Anything of that nature that incites them to have fear in them, I strongly advise doing. So that's certainly, I feel like Black person should have with their child, certainly, because of what's going on today.
I find that so disturbing. I can't even tell you. I mean, I remember vividly having a talk with my best friend, and we both lived in the same city. Her son was my son's best friend, so we became best friends with the parents. And I mean, sorry, there goes my cat. I remember, actually, I'm going to throw him out. Let me pause the recording.
That's fine.
So I was saying, I vividly remember when because they met in their first year, our sons met the first year of high school.
Okay.
And, you know, they wore hoodies like nonstop. Even, you know, my son wore them in the house. I mean, he'd come down for breakfast with his hoodie on. And it was just when hoodies started to really take off. They were really popular. And I remember her telling me that she's warned her sons, you know, when you're out in public, I don't want you wearing your hoodie. You know, you can wear it, but don't put the hood on.
Right.
And things like, you know, I don't want you and all of your friends walking down the street together. You know, if you guys are going to walk somewhere, at least, you know, walk separately so you don't look like a gang. I mean, it's just insane to me, you know, and we lived in this really upper scale, you know, well-to-do city. And they were harassed. I mean, her kids were stopped by the police for nothing. I mean, literally just driving. They had just left their house one day, got around the corner, and the cops pulled them over, asked for their ID, and, you know, where are you going? Where do you live? And they're like, we just left our house. We're going to pick up some food. And they're like, did we do something wrong? No, you know, your vehicle looked like one that has been reported and maybe involved in a crime. It's like, really?
Right.
You know, come on.
Well,
it would enrage me. And so many times I wanted to go like full Karen and like call the manager, you know? I mean, I was like, I'm going down to the police station, and she would have to talk me down off the cliff. And she's like, no, you know, because they're going to target us more because they were one of the only Black families in the whole city, you know, one of maybe a handful. And, but I was like, I wanted to go down there and just rip somebody's head off. Not physically, but, yeah, I mean, and I think that's what white people don't get too. Even me wanting to go down there and yell at them is white privilege. Because in my mind, that's what you do. You go and you can get in the cop's face and you can scream and yell and cuss at them and tell them off and put them in their place, you know, because they work for us. I mean, they work for all of us. We literally pay their salaries. So that's my right. But a Black person couldn't do that without fear of potentially getting arrested or maybe even escalating to the point of being murdered.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that anger and that rage? I mean, it's gotta, like, I don't know. I don't know how I would handle it.
Well, it's just so sad because the fact that you have to teach your children these things because of what media portrays of certain, it's not just Black people. I think the media portrays certain characteristics of all races or stereotypes of all races, and that seems to be instilled in the minds of people for whatever reason, but they certainly take that to heart. What the media portrays Black people being, for example, Black people, you know, welfare, government funding, but statistically more white people on government funding, welfare. So
corporations,
right?
More corporations on welfare, really.
Exactly. You know, and you know, just that in itself, or that Black people are violent. You know, I can go on and on about what they choose to portray, and then you can say it's the media, and then it comes to systematic racism. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this to people of color? Why do they stereotype? Why do they profile? Why do they insinuate hate towards us? So you just got to look at it for what point does it get to where it can be stopped, or when it can be brought to justice about what's being done. It just feels like the system is choosing to make like consistently people of color feel lesser than white people. You make it kind of feels like that at a certain level that the elites higher ups they choose to have a system in place that keeps us lower,
Mm-hmm.
and keeps us value less than others. So I don't know when I'll ever be able to explain it, or if I ever be able to explain the real reason why to my child, but I do know that I'm gonna do my best to make it to where I can protect us in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's certainly harder, I think, down where you live.
Right. But well, it's kind of like I read a quote recently. I think it was 12 Colors, if I'm not mistaken. But it said that there are no white people that are alive that are responsible for slavery, and there's 90 black people who were slaves. But black people still face the repercussions of it, and white people still have the privilege of it. It's kind of like nobody who's currently living
Mm-hmm.
was a part of it, either or, I guess, of the beginning of it. But like I said, it still holds value into what it was and how it controlled things today, so.
Yeah, it set up a hierarchy that still exists.
Right.
And that's what needs to be torn down in this country, well, across the world, really. I mean, you see it everywhere. Does it give you any sense of hope that these protests now have broken out across the world? I mean, we're seeing them in the UK, all over the globe.
Right. Well, absolutely. I feel like once it, like I said, once it hits the world, it becomes a worldwide issue, which means, hopefully the world is working together to resolve it. So, it's kind of like a sequence of structures, it's,
Mm-hmm.
Problem and solution. The world has been able to connect to and identify the problem of it. Now we can work together to have a solution. So it's amazing that it's gotten to this point. And like I said, I'm not really sure what, why this, broke the barrier for it, but it's something special that we can work towards getting better. So.
And what are your thoughts on defund the police? Because I know for so many different people I've talked to in person or online, there's different ideas on what that actually means. I have my own thoughts on what that means based on interviews I've seen with like Nina Turner and things like that. But what are your thoughts on it? What would you hope to see as far as change in the system?
Well, I kind of have like a foggy understanding of what they mean by defund the police. I've seen like different definitions as far as like what it literally means as far as like taking money away from it, and then also I've seen things about don't say that because it causes political party uproar or something. It doesn't like identify the message correctly if you say that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I certainly don't feel like it is the primary way to solve the problem, or like foremost. Like I don't really can't say I see that as like the definite answer, like where we should start at. But
Yeah, I almost feel like it should be divest the police would be a more appropriate. I mean, I have seen some extremists. I have seen some people who say, yeah, I mean, tear it all down, get rid of cops entirely, none ever anywhere. I don't fall into that camp. I absolutely think they have way too much power. They have, they're way overfunded in a lot of areas. But I've also talked to, I have a friend who's down in Tennessee, and her husband is a police officer down there, and they are underfunded, so it really depends on the area.
Right.
But my understanding of the majority people who talk about defund the police, it's more divesting the money, as Nina Turner was saying, into systems and organizations and programs that are better suited to deal with all of the things that we right now just throw at cops that they have no training in, things
Right.
like mental health issues or drug issues. We call them for everything. It's like, oh, there's a moose in my, front yard. Literally, my daughter was just showing me a video last night of this guy screaming for his mom because there were two moose out on their driveway in the front yard fighting each other. I think it was in New York. He sounded like he was a New Yorker. And he's like screaming, call the police, call 911. It's like,
Why?
The only thing the cops do is show up and shoot,
Right. I'm not sure how they're suited to deal with two giant
So
fighting.
I think as a society, we've just gotten way too used to calling them for everything.
Right.
It's like we've almost been put in this role, like we're the kids and they're the parents, and it's like any issue, call mom and dad, and they're they're not equipped. They don't know how to deal with all this stuff. So, is that something that you would get behind, like taking money, divesting it into other resources?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's much more practical than certainly just choosing to strip money away and kind of feeling like that solves the problem. When, like you said, when you divert the money, it creates, different resources, different diversity for one. That's obviously also a problem with the police force, diversity, so if you're able to have more groups and people from different backgrounds are able to provide resources to better suit and serve the people. For example, the people, they work for us, they serve us. So we, I feel like you need the people working with, the community, or the police, for example, to be able to better serve the community. So that certainly is more practical and makes more sense than just kind of stripping the money away.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, some of them are definitely way overfunded. They have really bloated finances and budgets, but I think we need to get it into the right hands and, definitely move it around to education and all kinds of things that we need in different sectors and different areas of the country.
Right.
But yeah, and what are your thoughts? Because just the other day I was watching a couple of reports that Derek Chauvin, he is the cop, obviously, who ultimately murdered George Floyd. He still is going to receive basically over $1 million in a pension.
Right.
I understand that these cops are putting some money into it, but then a large portion of it is taxpayer money. It's, he would in retirement get about $50,000 a year for the rest of his life, essentially. What are your thoughts on that when someone has been charged with a crime?
Right. Well, I've obviously, considering what happened, I don't feel like he should get it, obviously, but that kind of goes into, you don't agree with him getting him, like, because of who you feel as a person, he shouldn't get it, but not necessarily the fact that, we can't say that illegally got put in there, or, there's some reason why he shouldn't have that much money in there, that comes to, we not for sure know that, so obviously our feelings are different than the facts for what, his pension is and, things of that nature. But I think that's also a problem with, I think that's a source of what people have said about defunding the police, so I don't think it would get to that point, if the police was defunded, so, or, less funds were there. And that kind of turns into where the power and the greed comes to when there's so much, money in there that's not kind of full organized, it's not sourced to the right things, it becomes a thing of greed and, power and, dirty cops and things of that nature. So,
yeah, I have no problem with someone who's done their job, who's put their life on the line, throughout their career, receiving a pension and being taken care of. But yeah, somebody who's had 17, 18 complaints against him and they let it ride, and now he ends up murdering someone. I don't know. I just don't think, are other criminals going to come out of prison and be taken care of for the rest of their life? Yeah, yeah, they're lucky if they can even get a job after coming out of prison. So
right.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
Well, it's certainly not going to be something that they choose to, bring the people on. That's not going to be something that we have any influence or control over, in that instance, so.
Yeah.
I don't think the rioting and things of that nature is going to prevent that from happening or bring that to fruition or to, be explained. But, I certainly don't.
Yeah. No, we're not going to see that change anytime soon. So I was going to ask, right now we're in what I consider to be a horrible position as far as the election coming up. On one side we've got evil, we've got Trump, who's an obvious racist and obvious issue. But then we have Biden now on the other side, who has his own not so great history with race and the crime bill. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling about this election? Or is it like lesser of two evils thing, or are you excited about voting for Biden?
Well, I'm certainly not excited about voting for Biden, and anti-Trump is not pro-Biden, I guess is what I would say. But it's I feel like at this point it is a lesser of two evils, because we're not going to be able to see what we really want out of voting outside of them, obviously, and it kind of pick your poison. Which one can you deal with more, per se. Obviously, there's been divide, and I feel like Trump, who he is as a person, I feel like if he causes that much divide, I don't think he should be president in any way, shape, or form. Outside of all the racist, him being a racist, rapist, so on and so forth, just being a character, mocking, special needs people, like just all the things that, throw to the side and, allow for him to be as a person. I feel like if it was the other way around, if Obama even got accused of saying, what he said, even saying and not even, in the act of what, Donald Trump is in with Espen and so on and so forth. But I feel like it would be a very big problem, if it was the other way around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I've issues with some of Obama's policies and things that he didn't do, taking issue with the bankers and, prosecuting many of them and things like that. But he was vilified for ridiculous things. I mean, wearing a tan suit, using Grey Poupon or something. I mean,
it's just smoking weed when he was a kid, or not maybe a kid, but a younger adult, supposedly not being born in America, it was just insane.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, speaking of which, this just came up. I just saw this last night, so I honestly don't remember the lady's name, Mary something, I believe. She is a teacher, a professor, I believe, for some school, And right now they're trying to get her fired for making a racist comment about Obama. What are your thoughts on people being fired for racism?
I mean, for the fact that it's kind of like the law, not, work laws and discrimination and things of that nature. I certainly feel like it's appropriate. Just because one, as far as like, with so I'm trying to think of it, the rules of what you're representing of, for example, a university in that instance, if you're not aligning with that, even Jamel Hill with ESPN, the remarks she made about Trump, she might necessarily got fired for it, but, she was put on leave, and then, it caused discrepancy, obviously, and it made more sense for her to leave, obviously, but she didn't get fired necessarily, but obviously caused a rift, in it. So just for that example alone, I feel like it's appropriate only because it's the law, obviously to not discriminate and things of that nature. But also, I don't feel like a institution should represent that or allow that. I feel like that's racist in itself. If you as a university, agree with or allow that to be, what you stand for, your students and, people of color who are affected by what she says and who are in a group of that. So
right. Yeah, it's representative of the organization that you work for.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think it's situational. I think we can't become thought police because racism is going to exist whether we like it or not, we can't make someone change their opinion and views, but I think that we can definitely show that it's not going to be tolerated anymore. And I certainly wouldn't want my children going to a school and being taught by someone like that. So,
right.
it is going to come out in multiple ways and affect them. So,
right.
I mean, they're going to experience it in life throughout their life. But yeah, someone who I guess what she did was she made a racist remark about Obama on social media. So to me, it's like, I mean, you're just stupid.
What's on the internet is there forever. So it's there forever.
It's like, okay. I mean, if you're going to be that dumb about it.
Gonna be bold,
Yeah. You can't. I remember a situation when I was in my early 20s. I worked for an insurance company, and there was a girl who I had become friends with. We were both young, single moms, so we had that in common. And there was a group of us, and we would all hang out, and we would have lunch together every day. And she made a very, blatantly racist comment at lunch one day. Something came up about Black people, and I said to her, you don't like Black people? Because I could tell from her, I don't remember specifically what she said that prompted that question from me.
Right.
I said, you don't like Black people? And she said, oh no, I love Black people. I think everyone should own one. Now, anyone who knows me knows from the time I was a kid, that is my red line. Like, racism that's it. Like, you don't cross it. You don't, that's not something you do in front of me. So I let her know that I was pissed off. I walked away. Well, I just stopped associating with her. I stopped being friends with her, wanted nothing to do with her. I didn't say anything though to our employers because I didn't feel it was, it was relevant. I actually had our direct supervisor call me in. Now, somehow, I don't know what happened. I don't know who went to her, but someone told her that we had had a falling out, and she asked me about it. And she was asking me in the context of, do you think that she deserves a promotion? Because apparently there was an opening for a job, this girl was being considered for a promotion, and we worked for in a department with disability claims.
Mm-hmm.
So, employment disability claims.
Mm-hmm.
And she was concerned that her racism, her racial tendencies would affect her job and how she treated these people, how she treated the claimants. So she wanted to know. And I felt like I was tattling, but when she explained to me why she wanted to know, I was like, okay, I got to tell her the truth. So I told her what happened, and she ended up not getting the job. She ended up not getting the promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't feel guilty about it. I just don't. I mean, she came toe tapping in the bathroom after that. And, I came out of a stall one day and she thought she was going to scare me. And, she thought I was going to apologize. And instead I just told her, you don't want people to know you're racist, then don't say racist shit. I mean, that's just the way it goes, Don't blame me. Go look at the person in the mirror. But yeah, there's consequences. I mean,
Well, even so, that was certainly the right thing to do, because if you allowed it, that would be somebody in power,
mm-hmm.
is racist, so that would be part of the structure of systematic racism among corporations and people who have control over people's lives in that sense, so
Mm-hmm.
that turns into part of the problem of people of people of power having that racism in them that prevents other people from achieving things or living the life they deserve, because of the color of their skin. So it was certainly the right thing to do.
Yeah. What would you most like for white people to understand about your experience, and for them to know about how you experience life as a Black human being?
Well, it's kind of hard to say that.
No.
I didn't know what that was. Well, obviously, just like anything else, whether it's, for example, I got in a car accident when I was younger and I was in a wheelchair for 8 months, nobody else who hasn't been in a wheelchair will be able to understand how that feels, not being able to walk, for example. So I encourage people to feel, I encourage people to think of it in that sense, I feel like they obviously see, what we experience, obviously what's going on in the world. I feel like they don't,
No.
I don't feel like they obviously attached to it because they don't consider that it could happen to them. But I don't know what will be able to say what happened to them, like how it would make them feel if they were profiled because of color of their skin, like making their life harder, possibly enduring, death, pain, suffering, etc. So it's kind of, I just encourage them to be educated. I feel like that's the most efficient and best thing I can say is be educated on Black culture, the Black experience. There's obviously books about what people experience as people of color, and like I said, it's kind of evident in the world today about the kind of struggles and hardships we have as people of color in general. Black women, endure different, struggles, than a Black man, vice versa. So it's, I kind of interested to hear about what, white people could kind of connect to, what do white people connect to make them kind of have a sensitivity to what they experience, what is something that they can somewhat identify with that makes them feel connected to the cause. Like, do you think there's anything in particular that kind of does that?
I think from what I've witnessed, it's really just getting to know people of other cultures and other colors.
Right.
Because I find that the white people that I know who are most racist, even if it's, you know, what I call the low-key racists who aren't outwardly mean, but they hold racist views. They still, you know, see Black people as different.
Right.
They're the ones who, they just aren't around anybody of color. I mean, they literally just, everyone they know is all white. And so if you don't get to know someone, it's just like, kind of like, you know, my best friends. I struggled initially with them because they're very faithful in their religion. You know, they're from Haiti, and so or know the Haitian culture is very religious.
Right.
Right. It's just as a whole, as a people, very deep rooted in their faith. So, and I don't have a problem with that, but they were very much against the LGBTQ community when I first met them. Like they, you know, accepted them, they were nice to them, but they didn't, they, they saw it as an abnormal thing and they didn't like it. You know, they would tell me stories about people in Haiti that they would actually beat people up for being gay in Haiti. And I have, you know, quite a few gay friends.
Right.
Well, they admitted to me they really hadn't gotten to know anyone gay.
Right.
You know, anyone from the LGBTQ plus community at all.
Right.
So by becoming friends with me, they got to know some of my gay friends, and they were like, well, they're just like normal guys. I mean, they're just, you know, they're just like normal people. I'm like, yeah, they're human beings. I mean, you know, they just want to live their life. They just want to be happy like you and I mean, there's no, we all bleed the same blood, right? So that changed their minds, you know,
Right.
that really helped them to evolve in their thinking on that. And I think it's the same way with race. I think that if you just aren't around people of other colors or ethnicities, you don't understand that there's literally no difference. You know, everybody just wants the same things in life. So, yeah, I think it's just helping people to experience it. It's tough when you have people growing up in predominantly white areas.
I think one big thing is probably labels of people. You know, if you just kind of like decide to meet somebody and interact with them with no judgment attached to it because their color, you know, like you can automatically kind of like assume things whenever you know see somebody a certain color, you know, just you know, for example, even the microaggression or kind of like you're not like other Black people. When we were talking about earlier, for example, you know, I was, you know, 12 and 13, you know, and I listened to Metallica and I was skateboarding and I was, you know, wearing, you know, slip-on Vans, you know, in Alabama, you know, that wasn't really, you know, parallel to, you know, the average Black person in Alabama. So, you know, I got, you know, stereotype call, you know, Oreos, things of that nature is, you know, just because I wasn't, you know, stereotyped to other Black people. So I feel like if
the mold.
Right, fit to the mold.
Buddhist vegan now.
Yeah. So and now, like I said, I'm a Buddhist vegan now, you know, so you know, people in my family didn't know that. You're like, what the hell is wrong with this dude? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're like so confused, you know. So even people I went to high school with are so confused. So
Well, like my friends.
Yeah. I think
you know, like just being from the Bible Belt, you know, it's very uncommon for Black people in general to not be Christian, you know.
Yeah.
So that in itself is insane. But just to touch the point, you know, if you know the average, you know, white person who hasn't been around a lot of Black people growing up, if they didn't have the, you know, kind of like stigma of they may, you know, talk this way, or you know, they may, you know, listen to this certain type of music, or you know, have a certain kind of, you know, agenda, or you know, do these certain kind of activities, you know, if they didn't have that, you know, preset into them, whenever they just look at them, maybe they'll be more open to understanding them, you know, trying to connect with them, you know, and then obviously becoming friends. So I feel like that's certainly, you know, first step is to, you know, move the labels, you know, from it. I'm assuming, I don't know, was Ladera Heights mostly Black back then when you were born there or lived there? Or?
No, it was, I remember, I mean, I was so young, but I remember being told certain things. And so I remember when we first were living there, it was predominantly white. And so it was like a really big deal. I can't remember what band or what group it was. I think it was the Fifth Dimensions. Do you remember the group, the Fifth Dimensions?
I heard of it, right? I certainly don't
Yeah,
know.
so you're a lot younger than I am, but you're younger than my son, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
But yeah, a member of the Fifth Dimensions moved into Ladera Heights, and he was like one of the first Black people to move into the city.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so, but he was accepted because of his stature, because of his money, and because he was in the group, and he was famous. So it was like, yeah, there's also that. There's the race classes too, and
certainly.
so we're fighting multiple hierarchies in this country.
Right.
So
That certainly has to be removed as well. If you're even among industries, whether it's rappers or just businessmen, Black businessmen, moguls like Jay-Z, for example. You might be Black, but you have you're a billionaire, so you have certain leverage. You're more accepted. You're more even in just Hollywood in general. Stars. People that everybody can relate to. People love. They have that stature, they have that money, so they're able to, kind of they hold that wealth and power in them. That's also still, like you said, like pro-class racism. So,
Yeah,
so.
and I really wish that people on the right side of the spectrum could, and I think some of them do get it, but there's so many who don't get it, that it's kind of been set up in this country that if you don't have things, if you don't have money, if you don't have the job that you want, if you don't have the life that you want, well, blame the others, blame the Black and brown people, right? They're the reason you don't have those things. And that's such a stigma pushed by the politicians.
Right.
And I feel that they do that to keep us all fighting each other so that we don't notice that they're all picking our pockets.
Right.
And I wish that they would understand, no, you don't have those jobs and the money and the stature and everything that you want because of these politicians on both sides of the aisle,
right,
who have set this thing up to rip us all off. We're all the 99%.
Right.
And it's really the 1% that we all need to get together and fight against. It has nothing to do with race or gender or color or anything else. It really is, in my mind, it should be those of us who are trying to make the country equal in every way, for the right and the left, versus those few in power who are trying to keep the status quo,
Right.
So, which is in my opinion why they went so hard after Bernie, and pushed for someone like Joe Biden, who's just going to keep things as they have always been.
Right. And it's certainly real, and it's just so it's so crazy. Just for example, that most of the South, especially where I'm from, is like a red state, and like just based on like the economy that we have, and I just call it the Bible Belt, and kind of like the jobs that hold value, like trade work is mostly what people value down there, kind of like the core of it. It's just kind of interesting that we're a red state, but it doesn't really benefit us in general, as far as, like I said, based on how we operate. But I guess it kind of almost that it makes it seem like you're better than somebody because you're a white Republican. It kind of like brings a sense of like you're better, or like you have more, or your ideas and opinions and everything hold more value because you're a white Republican, even though it's really not, it's hurting you. You're not seeing how it's affecting you. So I feel like that needs to be talked about as well.
I don't understand it. I don't understand how you look at other human beings and not see them as human beings, you know? But I mean, I guess I kind of liken it to people who still aren't vegan,
Right.
you know, who still don't see all animals as just animals. You know, they all, the tipping point for me going vegan, what really just stuck in my brain was a friend of mine. And oddly enough, I've come to find out that she's racist, but so we're not friends anymore. But yeah, she said to me, and I'll never forget it, that all animals feel pain and fear.
Right.
And it just, and I'd always been such an animal lover, and so it just really like hit me right between the eyes. So yeah, I don't know why human beings who are racist can't understand that other human beings feel pain and fear the same way. And yeah.
Oh, you know, just it's they don't want to understand. You know, they do understand. They just don't want to understand, and also they don't care. You know, so
I think that's true with some people. Yeah, a lot, too many, for sure.
right.
Yeah,
And you know,
I think some don't want to give up their hierarchy. Just like I've seen a lot of discussions lately of people, white people getting offended with the term white privilege. And I'm
right.
like, well, the only white people I know who get offended with that term are the people who don't want to give up that privilege. They don't want to not be seen as the top of the food chain. They don't want to not be able to do whatever they want to do and say whatever they want to say, and, you know, treat other people like crap and get away with it. So, you know, that's why it bothers them, because people know the truth when they hear it and they don't like it. They don't like that truth. So.
Well, they know they benefit from it for one, and two, I feel like it's almost for some reason it poses a threat if you know if you don't have that privilege, if you don't choose to benefit from it, if you don't choose to have it serve you, you know, it brings them lower, you know, it makes us equal, which,
have it, baby.
you know, that also comes to they just don't want us to be equal.
Yes,
they don't want to be equal, so that poses a problem in itself.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we need more compassion, we need more empathy, and, you know, like the saying goes, I forget how it exactly goes, but, you know, rising tide raises all boats. Or hey! Hey! What are you doing?
Playing with the horse.
Hi.
So, hey. Don't know what you're saying, but you know, it's that's what I try to do now, is kind of like connect people to, you know, all sentient beings, you know, not just, you know, humans. You know, like I said, being a vegan in the South alone is crazy, especially being a Black vegan in the South. So you know, that's essentially unheard of. So, you know, I'm just trying to be the voice to compel, you know, what it means to have empathy and you know, love for all sentient beings, like what it means for us as a person, you know, as a soul, as an entity, and, you know, as us all being interconnected on that level. You know, once, you know, I try to bring that consciousness and awareness to everyone. You know, that's what I'm working to do, to be able to make the connection, you know, to obviously, you know, have better unity among us. So, you know, it's a day-to-day fight. So
yeah, we just got to keep on. Keep at it. I mean, I definitely have hope that the younger generations are different.
Right.
You know, I see a massive shift in your generation, you know, and Gen Z and millennials. Definitely way different.
Right.
You know, and I'm even seeing people in my generation, you know, Gen X, starting to open their minds a little bit and open their hearts. Not all of them, but you know,
right,
a good chunk. So we're moving in the right direction. Just boy, it's taken a lot longer than I had hoped it would.
Well, it's like I definitely have noticed it. It's maybe more of like it doesn't pose as much as a threat to like tradition. As far as like how you treat animals. How what it means to eat. Something that was living. Like as me, veganism connects like on a spiritual level, but just in general of how that it doesn't pose a threat to your tradition, but more like you're more open-minded to being like how it heals you, how it serves you more to not consume animal products, to be vegan, what it means for you as your mind, body, and spirit. I think it's being a lot more evidence and there's a lot more research, and I think it's a lot more out there to be able to see what it means to embody that, how it heals you, how it benefits you, how it makes you a better being and a better person, so that's certainly coming to the light, and I'm so thankful for that, and vegans across are working to spread that message, so we're getting there.
Yeah, not all, which is what prompted this series, but yeah, the majority are working towards a better world for every living being. So
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all you do. And before I let you go, can you tell everybody where they can find you? Do you have a blog? Do you have a Facebook page? Anywhere, Instagram, every place everybody can find you.
Well, at DJY Fitness is my Instagram handle. I'm just doing Young on Facebook. I also am part of Young Vegan Foodies. Is half of that. Me and my girlfriend, we do vegan budget cooking, shopping, just spreading new products that we find. Vegan beauty products. Different things we can do to expose people to a vegan lifestyle. Like I said, whether it's beauty products, food, snacks, junk food, anything that connects people to living, a vegan lifestyle, we share. So like I said, that's Young Vegan Foodies. Okay. And like I said, I'm just doing Young on Facebook. And you'll be able to connect to, all the other venues through my Instagram. So,
okay.
And I also have a Hippie D's Women's Vegan Health private Facebook group if anyone is interested in joining that. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll put links to all of your different platforms in the description box so that everybody can find you easily.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. That sounds great.
Of course. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. You got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
With the kids and everything going on. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about all this and opening up about your feelings. And I know it's a tough subject. But I think it's really important to get just average Americans out there talking about what they're experiencing instead of just hearing from the same talking heads on mainstream media and pundits that, they're wealthy. They don't live the same kind of life as an average American. So that's why I wanted to do this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, for,
sure.
Creating the platform to, allow that to be a discussion, allow that to, be brought into people's minds. Somebody has to be the force behind, somebody has to have that much connection to it to be able to, start, a platform or an outreach to be able to, bring that light to people to create, unity and love and respect for people and things. So, thank you for having that, compassion and, having that love for your values to be able to make it a platform, be able to reach people. So I thank you so much for having me, Of
course. Well, it's not much, but I just felt like I had to do something. So I'm like, okay, we'll start with this.
Something's always better than nothing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. So, and tell your family I said bye and thank you for letting me come into your home and take up your time from them.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Say bye, MJ.
Say bye.
Bye.
Say bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks again, Dylan.
Thank you, Gina.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Plants and Politics. The only way to take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again.